So when I was a kid, my paternal grandmother would weave mats, hats, and stories. I thought that was normal, that every grandmother in the world was a small, light-skinned Tongan lady who spoke English, Tongan, Samoan, Niwa, and Uvea fluently, was a master weaver and storyteller, and who taught her grandchildren how to weave while entertaining them with wild stories. She was born in 1917 and died in 2013. So this lady had heaps of stories, almost spanning 100 years. I met my grandmother in her later years, as my dad was part of the latter half of the children. If you know big Tongan families, you have the first 6, then you break, and you have a gap, and you raise the last 6, the oldest 6 grandchildren. If you know, you know. I don't think I ever really realized how old she was until she passed away in 2013. What I found so fun about her stories was that they were usually about dead people. Like, I don't even know if these stories were true, but there wasn't anybody alive to corroborate whether they were truthful or not. And I thought that that was very smart of her, because she had a penchant for exaggeration. And so everyone had to agree that that was the story, because she was the oldest person in the room. What I did pick up were all of the stories that she used to tell. And I made it something of my own because of her. Some of the stories I loved so much that she would tell was of her childhood in Ulu'ave, her village's narrow escape for a volcano eruption, and her sadness of leaving behind her home to come to America, and the many ancestors who would visit her on pretty much a daily basis. She had lived many lives, and because of this, she saw many things, both seen and unseen. In religious terms, I would characterize her as someone who sees through the veil. I want to make a note that I hate scary movies and scary stories. They stay with me even long after I watched them. I have night terrors, and mostly because my grandmother scared the crap out of us when we were kids. In my lifetime, I've had 4 for sure sightings, and all of them had to do with my paternal grandma. My final story I want to tell before, that'll take a minute to tell, is the 4th sighting. And this one is one of the most important ones to me. When I was 32 years old, I was hospitalized and pregnant with my last kid. I happened to fall into some kind of dreamlike state, and probably because I was over-medicated and delirious from illness, I felt really defeated, and I had been in there for weeks. And since I was pregnant, they couldn't give me any other medication, so I had exhausted all of the knowledge of the Western doctors. In my life, there have been very few moments where I have ever experienced that darkness or despair. I couldn't fathom how it could go on for another day. And then, in the corner of the room, with a little bit light that was coming through the hospital window, I saw my grandmother. And my first thought was, oh shoot, I didn't know I was that sick. She's here to take me. And then when I got my bearings, I realized she was sitting on a Tongan mat, weaving. And she looked up at me, and she smiled, and she said in Tongan, Moana, aheke ke loto toa. Moana, have courage. And then she was gone. I made it through that hospital stay, and so did my son. And I named him her middle name, Ikafilia, the most feared and terrifying fish in the sea. Thank you.